guys. How are you all? Thank you guys for being here. Oh my gosh. So the night before last, I found this video we're going to talk about and some of this new information, and I have been so looking forward to going through this with you guys. There are several things I actually have wanted to talk to you about, and I really haven't had the chance. So I'm happy to be here today. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Rexy, for being a member for 15 months, finally made alive. Thank you for being here. And thank you, Curious Christine, for being a member for 4 months. I appreciate you guys. Oh, Foxy, thank you for being a member for 11 months, every lifetime member. I love you, Allie. I love you back. And thank you. And Foxy, I think I saw that you had a live this morning. I've been so busy and I wasn't able to be there, but I want to share your link. You guys, if you haven't checked out my friend Foxy, she does tarot and stuff, not true crime related. We actually have a video on my second channel we did together talking about that. She's totally not for doing that, but she's really great. So please check her out. Oh, Joneson, hey, thank you for joining. Hey, girl. And Kim, thank you for being a member for 10 months. You guys are awesome. Let me say hello to you really quick. I know, look, the replay viewers are not really a big fan of the hellos, but I can't not. I missed you guys, and I enjoy chatting with you. I like to say hello. Hey, Bogart, thank you for being a member for 4 months. Love your channel. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Adrian. Hey, Preschool Granny. Pointer Lover. Hey, Chopper. Hey, Lisa Lee. Hey, Selena. Wee Gobshite. Henry, good to see you. Hey, Alana. Adrian. Chopper. Hey, Queen Olive. Good to see you guys. Let's see. My Bendy, Ange, Missy's Angels. Let's see. Anybody that I missed? Hey, Little Red. Hey, Girls Nana. Sarah Bellum. Thank you guys for being here. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull up. We had talked about this previously, but we didn't know where it came from. There's a couple things. So this channel called Allegedly Speculating, the video's in the description. They requested and acquired the jail files, the records for Stephan Stearns, okay? And we learned more about, okay, so we had already seen this note. Let's start here. We had seen this before and we had wondered, what is this? We were given no information. It was kind of just included in some of the documents and other evidence that's been released. We didn't know much about it. Now we do, and we're going to talk about it. Also, these jail records tell us that, let's see what I wrote here. Let me see. He's refusing rec because of verbal abuse from other inmates. And I'm going to show you that too. But let's see. Oh, Bodine, thank you for being a member for 11 months. Bodine says, cannot believe almost a year. It's crazy. Time flies. Thank you. All right. So, hey, you guys coming in. Hey, Tess, S. Hockett, nothing but a thing. All right. So, this letter we had seen and this evidence drop, says, I'm going to read it to you. I want to know if you guys consider this to be a confession. Let me read it. Think about that as we read, and then let me know after in the chat. So it says, always. Your hair was like honey with eyes stormy blue. Gone far too soon, I will always miss you. Your smile was a treasure. Your laughter filled the room. This world is not the same. I will always miss you. I loved you so much, I would have died for you. With no end to my tears, I will always miss you. As I held you in my arms, my heart died with you. Rest in peace, sweetheart. I will always miss you. Now, this was found in a Bible. We did learn that. So this video, we're going to go through, actually, I'm going to go through her video. I'll just skip through and we'll read through all the records to see if there's anything else that I missed, kind of, because there, like I said, this him not going to rec thing. Was I even sharing the letter with you guys or just the video screen? So there's that. And then I screenshot this, but like I said, we're going to read through it. But this is about the note. So it says, on the above date, which is July 29th, and approximate time I was assigned the C-Pod housing unit. At approximately 1450 hours, I was conducting cell searches in Charlie Pod. While searching the cell of inmate Stearns, I noticed some yellow pieces of notebook paper. This caught my attention because yellow paper is not common in our facility. After finishing the search of the cell, I asked another officer to confirm the presence of the yellow paper, and he also found it unusual. Just as we were about to wrap up, Corporal Dingo entered the pod. I inquired with her about whether yellow paper was permitted. She wasn't certain and asked to see the papers in question. I then requested inmate Stearns to hand over the papers, which he did. I asked the inmate how he obtained the yellow paper, to which he stated his attorney had provided him with a few blank papers on a prior date. One of the papers turned out to be a handwritten poem labeled "For Maddie." And this is also included. I just didn't get a screenshot of it, but we'll see it in a moment. I showed this note to Corporal Dingo. That concludes what I was involved in during this incident. Then we have the supervisor's review. So they say, after closely examining the handwritten note, I noticed a few lines that concerned me. I immediately reached out to Counselor Mendoza from Mental Health Services. Mendoza has been involved with inmate Stearns since he was first brought in because of his high-profile case. After reviewing the note, she agreed with my assessment that it needed to be reported. Counselor Mendoza then evaluated inmate Stearns to determine he needed additional mental health support to determine if he needed additional mental health support. After her evaluation, she concluded that he could stay in his cell without any additional restrictions. Photos were taken of the note and uploaded to the appropriate drive. Due to some concerning content within the poem, I handed it over to the police department. So that is when it was found in July. Now, for Maddie, and it says clearly on it, I loved you so much, I would have died for you with no end to my tears. I will always miss you. As I held you in my arms, my heart died with you. Rest in peace, sweetheart. I will always miss you. So it is somewhat of him kind of, I guess, admitting that he was there when she passed. No? I mean, I'm curious what you guys think. Do you consider this a confession? Why would an attorney provide something like that versus setting up commissary? Maybe because he didn't have the money or something and gave him some paper to write on. Hey, Marshall. Bogart says, yes, I do. Aquamarine, yes. Christine, it makes it sound as if he was there at her end. It's the held in the arm parts that gets me. Yes, sounds like a confession. Yes, I do. Feel like there has never been a question to his guilt. I agree. 100% confession. Lil Red says, we also do not know when or where she passed or who killed her. I suspect Jen is part of what happened. Well, see, we know that she was alive, and we see the text of her being snuggled up in her nest in bed at almost midnight. We know that after that, she wasn't seen. Her mom sent her up to her bed right before midnight. The roommate at 2 a.m. heard a loud noise. We know that. And we know by 7 he was dumping all of her stuff in the dumpster. If yellow paper is not allowed, could it have been planted? I suppose. I don't necessarily think it was, though. I would be really curious to see a handwriting sample of his. The poem sounds like it was written by an angsty middle schooler. As a matter of fact, I think we have a handwriting sample in the hundreds of pages of reports. Lil Red says, I do not consider it a confession. We do not know who wrote it or when it was written, even though it was on his person in the Bible. We do not know where the Bible came from. I consider it a little, I don't know if I would call it a confession, but it is concerning. I think that it was good to hand it over to police. It was found in his cell and his stuff, and he's the one who said his attorney gave him yellow paper. So, I mean, I think there's, quite a lot of evidence that shows that it was his. But I don't know. Hey, MK. Jones, and I know. Unbelievable. So let's go. Let's see. He told the CO where he got the paper from. Yep. It's from a legal pad. My heart died with you. Rest in peace. It's suspect for sure. Hey, neat. I know he's guilty, but the poem is not a confession in Little Red's opinion. Sprinkled Donut says this shouldn't even go to trial, just a huge waste of money. That's at minimum placing himself with her at the time of her death. Riley, I think he's so obviously guilty that a confession really doesn't even tip the scale at this point. All right, so let's go over to this channel. I shared the link in the description. I'm going to drop it in the chat as well. So allegedly speculating, it seems to be a new channel, and they have requested these jail files. I so appreciate that. We're going to use this video a little bit, of course, with fair use. However, please go check it out in full. The video's in the chat and in the description. So yeah, I thought this was interesting. Before we go back, and we're just going to kind of read through all of it and see what else we can find. But here we have in August, inmate will remain PC house alone for safety reasons. Inmate has recreation. Listen to this part. So July 31st, per confinement review meeting, inmate will remain PC house alone for safety reasons. Inmate has recreation. Per mental health, inmate is refusing recreation due to verbal abuse from other inmates. That is why in the title, he's scared and won't leave his cell. He is refusing to go to recreation because of verbal abuse from other inmates. Poor Stephan, getting verbally abused by grown men. Guess what? In prison, in jail, they don't take too kindly to men like you, Stephan. They don't take too kindly to men who hurt children. Especially in the sick-ass way he did it. So guess what? This probably is going to be your life for as far as I can see. Sorry. But when you do this shit, that's what happens. We also have him on September 17th and the 22nd and the 26th being offered a shower but declining. Like, ooh, you nasty. Go take a damn shower. But what I don't understand is why he wrote that and kept it. Is he that dumb? What purpose was he serving? I don't know. I don't know if he's dumb, but I think that he's just so emotionally involved that that's what's leading his decisions. You know what I mean? That's what's kind of, I don't know, turning into Tisha. Yeah. Oh, poor Stephan. Hearing people call you exactly what you are is hurting your little feelings. I'm sorry, but guess what? This is how it's going to be. When you hurt children, and look here, we know this is not just, as disgusting as it is, Maddie is not his only victim. She is, of course, the main victim, and especially in this case, like the main focus of this case. However, he had 35,000 images of CSAM, of other kids. He's disgusting. And I hope all the inmates in there find that out. And I hope they know exactly what he's done. I'm sorry. I have no sympathy. I would have no sympathy if there was jailhouse justice, as awful as that may sound. A little red, think about the Woody Allen comment now made by Jen. Make it make sense. See, for me, if the police are saying they have no evidence she was involved, I'm going to trust them. So I do think that she has some culpability in the situation for sure. And she's certainly responsible in her own way. But my personal opinion, I don't think she was part of Maddie losing her life. I think that she was just so self-absorbed and so worried about her own mental health and herself that she allowed a predator to to get what he wanted in her home. And many, many times to do what predators do. I don't know how to say that, but I think that if she was involved, there would be evidence, electronic evidence. They have him on camera all the way from the house with her slumped over in the car, dumping her shit in the dumpster with her in the car slumped over, all through town, all the way to where he puts her in the trunk. They have that on camera, to where he ultimately takes her and, excuse me for saying this, but dumps or disregards of her remains. If Jen was involved, I feel like there would be, in that part of it, I think there would be more evidence of that. But I don't know. I could be totally wrong. I thought that was a lot, but the other guy arrested in Kissimmee had over 150,000 pics. Oh my God. It is horrible, but there are definitely parents out there who deny the reality because they care about their own needs first. Yeah, I agree. Riley, I think Jen is 100% guilty of being a terrible parent. Unfortunately, that isn't a chargeable offense, and there is no evidence of other chargeable offenses. Kate says, in my opinion, they didn't need her to convict him, but the state seems to think so. So I don't think that's why they did, in my opinion, I don't think that's why they did that immunity thing, the derivative immunity for the one interview. She does not have immunity. Again, because after we had that conversation, I saw so many channels, Jen Soto's gotten immunity in the title. It's so misleading. I am so sick of it because it's like the facts don't matter to half the people on this app. And it's frustrating as hell. It's like a losing battle. But anyways, my opinion is that they didn't need that to convict him at all, but they wanted her to they had a lot of questions, right, from her. It doesn't make sense. How could this happen? And they have all these different things, like the text messages to Maddie's dad when she went to visit about looking under the door and, missing her period and all of these things they wanted to ask Jen about. And this was how they could do it. This is the opportunity they would have to do it. And I think that they went into that, not knowing what the answers would be, of course, but just needing those answers. I don't know. Hey, Edith. All right. Yeah, clickbait is strong. It's gross. Hey, Toe Beans. Good to see you. This is just horrible. No matter what level of involvement she had or didn't have, end of the day, she felt the mom job. And look, I appreciate all opinions. I know Lil Red feels strongly that she was involved, and I'm glad that she's here giving her opinion the same way I'm glad for all ends. I think that it's the best way to have a balanced conversation, right? We all have opinions based on accurate, factual information, not bullshit, not clickbait. We're basing it on the evidence. That's why, we've looked at everything that's been released so closely up to this point. As soon as I saw these jail records were released, I couldn't wait to talk to you guys about it because it's just more evidence. It's black and white, factual information we can go through. We don't sit here and just talk about the what ifs, the possibilities, the same case day after day with no updates. We want to go through on this channel. I want to go through the real information. That's what I'm after. That's what I want to see. If that's not what we've got, then I'm not here for it, period. I believe it's a tactic by the detectives. The state already has enough to put him away for life on the CSAM. They didn't need to set him up on the murder, in my opinion. Yeah, why would they do that? I don't think so. Hey, Kimberly. So no, well, I would rewatch it, but we're going to kind of go through it all. So this person, this new channel, allegedly speculating. Sorry, I couldn't see. And the link is in the description. This new channel requested and acquired the jail records from Stephan Stearns. If you remember, there was what's being called a confession letter. I don't know that I consider it that, but it is somewhat, enlightening of maybe that he was there when Maddie passed. It just gives us more information. They found this in Stephan's cell. We knew about this letter before it was included in some of the evidence, but now we have more information when they found it and what that looked like. We also have talked about him being scared to go to recreation because of verbal abuse from other inmates and things like that. So now we're going to go over to her video, and I'm going to go back to where she first starts sharing the records, and we'll just kind of scroll through and look at them. But again, let me drop the link one more time in the chat. If you guys are interested, please go over there, check it out for yourself. It's in the description as well for the people on replay. There we go. The poem does not put him in a good light. Mrs. O, thanks, Alex. I don't understand the other channels harping on a case for years after sentencing. See, okay, for me, it's all about this. Are you looking at new information? Are you looking at new stuff? Because like with Letitia, we have done serious deep dives into that, but we were never just kind of just sitting around like every day, what if, and just talking drama. We were always going through jail records, prison records, phone calls, case files, always information, new stuff that there was to look at. I think that's the difference for me. If there is information that hasn't been discussed or seen, I think that it's valuable to talk about it, but not just like the same stuff every day. Jennifer, they have charged Stephan for her murder and Stephan only. It's definitely creepy, in my opinion. Not sure it's a confession per se. Right, with Letitia, we're breaking down and processing the information that comes out about her. Right. I totally agree. Sadly, we've still only scratched the surface with Letitia. Well, I mean, Jen and I there is a lot more that could be requested that we didn't even realize. And I'm not going to get into exactly what, because we kind of have talked about keeping that more private in case we want to get it. But there's still so much information out there. And some answered questions. Some of them I think will never be answered, you know. The Net Sleuth Booth. Hey, Allie in chat. I am still of the option that he will ultimately take a plea. He does not want everything coming out on a public trial. Hope I'm wrong because I want to see it. The mommy and daddy coin suggests Maddie thought they were going to be parents. Kate says, I don't doubt his guilt. They have video evidence, but my gut instinct does not accept the poem fully. Care Bear says, clarification. I don't believe the letter is set up by detectives. I was talking about them not charging Jen as a strategy. Oh, okay. Yeah. Just wasn't clear on that. Missy says, most annoying is the channels harping on a case with no new info like Sebastian. There are millions of missing children. It's honestly really sad. I love your picture, Missy. It's honestly really sad because you're right. There are so many other missing children, women, you know, in some areas a lot more than others. But I don't know. It's tough because it's what people are interested in. So that's why they do it, you know. But I agree with you. There's so many other things that are really important to talk about. Missing and murdered Indigenous women. I mean, it's insane how often that happens and how little it's talked about. But people are going to do what brings people in the chat. You know, some people, not everyone. There are lots of great channels out there who really just cover things for awareness, and, you know, not all are the same, but okay. Hey, Robin Bird. Yep, you're right, Badgered Witness. You're 100% right. That discourse isn't even about Sebastian. It's about the parents and the YouTubers. It's so absurd. Okay. Oh, I never say this, but Crystal reminded me. She said there's 176 in the chat. Please smash the like button. I would appreciate that so much. And also, if you are not subscribed, definitely please subscribe if you like the conversation, if you are interested in these topics, because we are pretty close to 20K. And it started like felt like I was stuck for a little bit, and it started moving again. So I'll be really excited when we get there. Ever notice when the parents turn the case into a circus, the kids are never found? Like Summer, poor Summer. But yeah, I Googled it the other day, and there are over 800,000 missing kids in the U.S. each year. Okay, so let's get into these jail files. I do enjoy kind of going through your comments, your thoughts. I think that's part of what makes like these live chats. And sorry, I could see that I was glitching, but that's what makes the live community so great. You can have conversations with your community. Okay, so let's look here. Now we have Osceola County Corrections Department Incident Report, Stephan Stearns, on March the 1st. On the above date and approximate time, Stearns was placed on blank status by a nurse due to the nature of his charges. He's been charged with sexual battery, victim 12 to 17 years of age, possession of child pornography, and sexual battery, victim under 12 years of age. He has completed the booking process. He was secured in hand restraints, and placed in a certain cell where the restraints were removed. A strip search was conducted, which resulted in no contraband. He was issued a clean dignity garment and a clean mattress, and the cell was secured. So that is when he arrives at the jail. Now, like, you can go to this video, like I said, for even more, because I'm not going to go through every second of her video. We have visitation records here. Let's see. Scheduled start, scheduled end with Christopher Stearns on March the 5th. So just a couple days in. Now, this is just like a log. This is where we saw what I read to you about him being scared from verbal abuse. So this says, on October the 3rd. So I guess it starts with the most recent and works backwards is the way that it appears. So October the 3rd, he was offered shower, clean uniform, and he declined again. He declined a shower on September 26th. He declined a shower on the 17th and the 22nd. On September 20th, he requested access to a tablet and was allowed to use it for an allocated amount of time. He had a review meeting, and he will remain in protective custody for safety reasons. And that happened many times. Again, offered a shower and refused in August. So has he showered at all? He keeps declining to take these showers like, ugh. Hold on, let's see. It's kind of hard to read it here. Classifications interview complete. Inmate states he will, quote, probably, unquote, want special population. Request packet to be completed once cleared. They talk about his current charges and, why that puts him at a certain safety status, basically. Let's continue, though. I want to get to... Let's go here and just see if there's any things that I missed. Housed alone temporarily, seen by mental health. Continue acute self-harm watch. So this is from right when he got there. He's not allowed to have any razors. He did get a dignity garment. So I guess that's like a smock where they're not able to do anything with it to hurt themselves. Kind of how it seems. Okay to have books per mental health. That was approved on March 19th. On March 26th, while picking up dinner trays to be returned to the kitchen, inmate asked if he could have his tray so he can attempt to force himself to eat. I explained that when the food trays are given to him, that he has to accept them at that time. He cannot pick and choose when he wants the tray. Inmate becomes sarcastic and says that he didn't know that social hour was over. And that's a quote. Wow. So I can force myself to eat. Poor pitiful Stephan. He just can't even eat in there. He's just so miserable and sad. Well, buddy, you did this. So on April 6th, cell search conducted. Please be aware, inmate has been chipping off the paint off the walls and making balls with it. Inmate was told to stop, and he didn't understand why he couldn't have the balls, which in fact were very hard. After I explained why he could not have them, he didn't question any further and didn't say anything. Oh my God. Let's skip a little bit. Oh, Kate, thank you. That's so sweet. Super sweet. Were they coloring books? He's such a baby. He only feels sorry for himself. What a bratty man. Yeah, social hour. He's like a little child, right? Like a pissy little, like, teenager. I don't know. My teenager is not like that, but you know what I mean. Like that angsty, just attitude. So I guess she's kind of reading through these. So let's skip ahead a little bit. He was provided a haircut and shave with clippers only okay to use nail clippers with direct supervision. So on May 1st, while taking inmate out of cell, there was hard balls of paint. Inmate has already been counseled about this behavior. He stated he is bored. Zone supervisor notified. I don't give a damn if you're bored. You're in jail, buddy. When you do what you did, you're going to have a lifetime of boredom, especially since you can't be with other people because they don't want to allow you to exist in there with them. So May 29th, inmate will be stepped down by mental health to close supervisor, remain in medical under camera view. Do not move from medical. Inmate offered a shower but refused breakfast tray. Wellness check conducted. All appears secure. Another, more protective custody. Let's see. Requested a tablet and was allowed to do so. Offered a shower and refused. Offered a shower and recreation. Refused. Then we have July 18th. Inmate has added charge of first-degree capital murder. Inmate went to rec in the bullpen due to him being a PC. Inmate zone supervisor notified. Inmate was given a tablet on alpha shift. Confinement review meeting. Inmate will remain on protective custody alone for safety reasons. Let's keep going because we're going to get to this letter part. I just want to make sure there's not any other little things we miss. And she kind of reads through everything that happens in here. If you guys want to, if you're interested in hearing that. We do see that on May 14th, he was able to use the kiosk to get commissary. Just check on you guys for a second. He is a monster, Rachel. Hey, Claus. Hey, Grandma Sherry. Good to see you. Oh, thank you, Claus. You're so sweet. You guys are the bomb. Thank you for everything. Has he ever showered since he's been here? Well, I don't think they tell us when he showers, only when he doesn't. So, Chopper, thank you for becoming a member. And you guys, Jennifer, thank you for gifting. And Nurse Kristen, thank you for gifting 5. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that so much. Okay. He refused breakfast. Again, refused shower. That's pretty much the way it goes with him, huh? Okay, so this is what I showed you guys at the beginning that I had screenshot. They're doing a search of the cell, random searches, and they find this yellow paper. It catches their attention because they know that the inmates aren't offered yellow paper. They're not allowed to buy it. They're not supposed to have it. So they get the supervisor and they start talking about, how did you get this yellow paper? Stephan answers and says, my attorney gave it to me. Well, when they start reading through what he's written, they believe that it's a little concerning. There's quote, due to some concerning content within the poem, it was handed over to the police department. Okay. Handwritten note, handwritten note. So it looks like there were two of them. Let's see. So here's a bigger picture of that note. Always. Here, let me go back to this. And we had talked about this previously, you guys. We saw it in, I guess, when they sent it to police saved it with their evidence. And it was put in there, but we had no explanation of kind of how it got there. Now we know it was found in July in his cell. He admitted that his attorney gave him this paper. And if you look here, it clearly says the video is blurry, like not her, but what she's sharing. She's clear, but this part is very blurry. But it says, for Maddie, with a heart. See if it gets any clearer. This. For Maddie. Here. Oh, wait, I'm not sharing it with you guys. There we go. It is very creepy. No, his lawyer gave him the paper, apparently, Rose. Apparently so. So this is where in the log you see that it says July 29th, informational. While conducting cell searches, a letter was found and given to the zone supervisor. Be careful when doing cell searches. Inmate had yellow papers. July 31st, per confinement review, inmate will remain in protective custody, housed alone for safety reasons. Inmate has recreation. Per mental health, inmate is refusing recreation due to verbal abuse from other inmates. He was offered a meal on the 2nd and refused it, refused a shower on the 5th. He had several more meetings about where he would stay, and they decided he would stay in protective custody. He got a pillow on September 10th. Okay. Offered a shower, but refused September 17th. More showers he refused. Like I told you guys, the 22nd, the 26th. And then I think that's pretty much the end of the record. So, yeah, I don't know, you guys. It's crazy that he would even, that he would even fight this at all. They already had so much evidence against him, and maybe he won't. Maybe he will. Maybe it's going to be a affirmative defense like Letitia, and he's going to say, my traumatic brain injury, which we've seen come up time and time again. I think maybe he'll use that. I don't know. But while we're here, I just want to touch base on a couple other things not related to this case, but other cases. Oh my gosh, I lost it. So did you guys know that Kohberger's attorney is, let me see if I go to this group, is requesting all DNA evidence, all genetic DNA evidence to be left out. Let's see if I can find the post. There's a lot of documents released. There are several things that he's requesting not to be in there. Also, there was a Leilani's, let's watch that while we're here, because we got through this quicker than I expected, and I was going to do a separate live, but I think we should just watch it now. Leilani, and I'll add it to the end of the title. Leilani's defense attorney spoke out to the local news. So let me get that and we'll watch it together. There it is. Here it is. Okay. Breaking. Brian Kohberger's defense filed to have a slew of evidence tossed from his trial. Among them, all genetic info, anything obtained in searches of his car, apartment, parents' home, and digital accounts. What? And as far as the case against Stephan Stearns, you guys know that we're going to follow that anytime. Evidence, any information, real information, we will be here to talk about it. I'm not going to just go live and just discuss bullshit and drama and theories. You know, I have no problem with that occasionally, like a panel of people discussing their theories and stuff like that. If it's done respectfully, I have no problem with it. But just know that, you know, if anything else new comes out, we will talk about it for sure. So, okay. Yeah. All genetic info. Okay, that's one thing. Anything obtained in searches of his car. Why? I hope and pray this doesn't work. What do you guys think about this? Anything in his apartment or parents' home and digital accounts? How could that possibly? No, all of that is important. The link is in the description. There is literally the word source. And then if you look, there's like a highlighted section that has the title of the video we were watching, and you click that. If you're talking about my description, it is in there. It says source. And then the next thing right beside that, if you click it, it may not look like a link because YouTube is changing how they do things. It may look like a YouTube play button and something that's highlighted. But it is in there. Hey, Lori. Well, he has to try. A defense attorney is obligated to zealously defend their client. It is far too broad of an ask to get it through. I hope so. I hope you're right. Claus, thank you so much for sending me this interview, by the way, with Leilani's attorney. I'm glad that I get to hang out with you guys today and watch it. And I'll change the title that will reflect that we watched it. Because I didn't know if I would do something separate, like a short little video or whatever, but we're kind of playing it by ear. Nature Rocks, thank you for being a member for 11 months. Hello, all you beautiful people. In my opinion, it was taken without the proper channels. In my opinion, that's why. What, all of that evidence? Well, I think she's trying to fight the search warrants, but I don't know that that will work. Because if you, oh gosh, there was a hearing a while back where the guy who filled out the search warrants had to testify. And I think that's where that stems from. This ask stems from. I hope it doesn't work because it wouldn't be fair. They deserve justice too. And if, like, I get why she's doing it, the defense attorney, but at the end of the day, you know, why would anything obtained from your digital accounts, if it made you look guilty, then that means you probably did something wrong. Like, I don't know. I just don't like that. I don't like it at all. I'm really looking forward to how it kind of goes, to seeing how it goes. I never liked Kohberger's attorney. Now I'm convinced she's off her rocker. Apparently, she's very good. When I hear her talk, though, she kind of loses me. It's like my head starts just like almost spinning. That's how I feel. But hey, under your scars. I think he'll use the TBI. Lori, not off the top of my head. I need to keep a calendar, but it's Grandma Sherry's Nightbot. I think it's standard for defense attorneys to try to throw out evidence, but it rarely works. Yeah, I think a lot of it is, but I'm just surprised with all that they're asking to be thrown out. Like any digital accounts, I don't know. I don't like her. She intimidated the last judge, but this new one, she's not the boss. Under your scar says, oh, you're so welcome, Grandma Sherry. I adore you, and I love your channel. I love the way your brain works, and I think that people would so enjoy going there. Ooh, Adrian, thank you. I just dropped the ones, like people that were in here, because that's kind of where my brain first goes to. But there are so many channels that we love here. So in here or not. Hey, Court's Crime Couch. I hope you're doing good. I stand by my belief that an innocent person does not change license plates. I stand by my belief an innocent person doesn't separate all of their trash from their parents and all of that stuff. Okay, so let's go to this video with Leilani's attorney now. Exclusive, WTOC exclusive. Leilani Simon's defense attorney speaks out following guilty verdict. Again, in the video we just were talking about this allegedly speculating, I'm going to drop it one more time in the chat for people who do have trouble getting it in the description. It's there. I just double checked. It's certainly 100% there, right by the word source. We always link on my channel. I'm always going to show you exactly where I'm getting any information. If people can't tell you where they're getting stuff, I do not agree with that. Playing videos, but you won't drop the link. You won't tell people where it's from. I want you guys to be able to do your own research independently of me. So therefore, it's only right to share sources of any information. This way, you can do it on your own time. I mean, I don't know. Sassy pants, Grandma Sherry. I just can't stand when people do that. I can't stand when people refuse to name channels who they're talking. I don't like any of that weird stuff. We're not going to do that here. Okay, so now into this. Let's listen together.
Hi, I'm Speaker Don Scott. Conan and I have gotten a lot done.
Don Scott.
Another election.
Sorry to mute you, Don, but you know, I'm not getting political right now. I've asked you guys in Patreon, like, does anybody want to talk about political stuff? Most people said no, which is surprising. For me, I would love to be able to have conversations like that, honestly. This is the problem. Like, everyone chooses the side that they're on, and I understand doing that and feeling really firm in your beliefs, and I love that. Like, I think that's great. But you should never do it where you're not open to look at, like, everything. At the end of the day, in my opinion, it's really a lot of BS on all sides. And if you could have an honest conversation about what's and where the BS is, especially like using your true crime brain, you might feel differently by the end. You never know. But okay, here we go.
For the news at 7, I'm Dawn Baker.
And I'm Haley Bolin. Just weeks ago, a Chatham County jury found Leilani Simon guilty in the murder of her 20-month-old son, Quentin.
Well, tonight we bring you an interview you will only find right here on WTOC. Leilani Simon's lead defense attorney speaking out about the guilty verdict in the case. WTOC Shay Schrader joining us now live. Shay, you sat down with Martin Hilliard this afternoon. What did he have to say with you?
Yes, good evening,
Love
Dawn
you,
and
Foxy.
Haley. I spoke to Hilliard about the fact that he doesn't believe the state proved murder charges against Simon and what's next in the case.
Oh, really?
Simon's sentencing is next week, but her
He doesn't believe they proved it. Okay.
already looking ahead to a long appeal process.
I mean, I was a little shocked, to be honest with you. I mean, like anyone else, I mean, I didn't expect it to come back the way it did.
Martin.
What? I'm so surprised that he was shocked by that, because I felt like they did a great job proving their case. And with somebody with so much experience, it's pretty crazy that he's shocked. I love a good discussion, but unfortunately, most people dig into their beliefs and refuse to listen to another point of view. That is so true. It really is. I love me some good old religion. Religitics, da-da, Danny. I find it interesting that in Richard Allen's case, it was the state who wanted everything kept out. In BK's case, it is the defense who wants everything kept out. In my opinion, let the jury see everything. What a great point. That's so true. Because politics can cause issues not needed in true crime. It's separate. It's certainly separate. And I don't think that, well, I mean, to a degree, it's separate. Politics ultimately create our laws, which, like, the politicians create our laws, the senators and, the House. And the commander-in-chief too, right? And now ultimately it does kind of affect true crime. It is separate though, but I just wish people could look at politics with their true crime mindset. You know what I mean? Looking for facts and evidence and receipts, not just going by what people say, really digging in to see the truth of the matter. That's my point. And I think that gets lost sometimes, and people just want to take this side or that side. Or, when it comes to social issues, we feel very strongly about, I don't know, like I do, acceptance and, everyone having equal rights, things like that. So it can get kind of, I don't know. I just wish, like I said, people could use their true crime brain to look at it. But all right, on to Leilani, though. He's shocked. Did he pay attention during the trial? Their arguments were so lame, in my opinion. I can't believe it either. Lil Red says, I feel like they have no proof she killed that baby, even though she was seen discarding the trash. No, I think they did, though, because the only other people there, they have video evidence of them discussing what happened that night and Leilani telling him, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you the Origel story. So that kind of shows you that the only person that could have done it was her. You know what I mean? So they don't have direct evidence. You're right, that exactly what she did. But there are a lot of cases where we see that. In Letitia's case, we don't have we still don't know exactly what happened. We have the medical examiner who can guess in which way the injuries occurred, right? Because of some of them were not you couldn't survive. But there are so many questions there. How did it start? What about the candle? Why was the carpet replaced not once? There were 3 pieces of carpet. Okay, it was replaced twice. There are so many questions in every case like that. But I still feel like they did a pretty good job at proving she was the one who did this. With all of her lies, with tapping her conversations with Danny, as well as the hotel room surveillance.
Hilliard recalling the moment his client, Leilani Simon, became a convicted murderer. After a 2.5-week trial that saw around 40 witnesses and 100 pieces of evidence presented.
Poor Leilani. Poor Stephan. These people, they just feel so damn sorry for themselves, don't they? Well, too damn bad. Because I don't feel a bit sorry for any of them. I feel sorry for Quentin. I feel sorry for Quentin's siblings who were robbed of a life with their brother. I feel sorry. Matt, okay? Don't give a damn about you guys. I'm sorry, but
So prosecution.
Walk me through that decision not to call any of your own witnesses to the stand.
In a case like this that's purely circumstantial, where they don't know what happened, where they don't have a manner or method of death, where they don't have any clear idea of how, when, or why.
Oh my God. Like the rage, I can feel it coming. They don't have a manner of death because of how he was discarded. Okay, the only person who was out driving around at the dumpster and throwing trash away was Leilani. So she is the reason that they don't have that.
The death occurred. Why give the jury anything other to base their verdict on than the evidence or lack of evidence from the state?
Hilliard and his co-counsel, Robert Peirce, zeroed in on what they call a lack of physical evidence from the prosecution.
Honestly, though, there are a lot of cases that go to trial with little evidence, little physical evidence that are entirely circumstantial. It's not rare at all. If Bendy was here still, I would love to ask her that, because Jen was actually the first person I saw on YouTube reviewing trials. When I first started doing true crime, I didn't see a lot of that. Really any of it. Now it's more of a thing. And I think that's because a lot of these big cases that were followed widely are going to trial and have went to trial. But yeah, so that's why I would like to ask her that. Oh, Jen. Yeah. So aren't many murder cases just entirely circumstantial? If you want to come up, let me know and I'll drop the link. I'd love to get your thoughts on all this stuff, or anybody who has something they want to add. Net Sleuth Booth says, I can't believe Billy Joe didn't go to trial in honor of getting justice for Quentin. Bye, Lori. Have a great day. I think a lot of people were very curious why she wasn't there since she didn't testify. You know, she said that she was scared, and she was going to a lot of the hearings. So I don't know. I don't have too much to say about that, but I can understand for sure.
Examining witnesses. During the trial, they also cast doubt on Daniel Youngkin, Simon's then boyfriend, who was also in the home when Quentin disappeared. The prosecution, at times, however, painting Youngkin as a sympathetic figure.
He made himself a cooperating witness. I know, doesn't surprise me.
Do you believe that the police should have looked closer at him?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know. I don't sit here and pretend to know what happened.
How can they look any closer than tapping his phone for months? I mean, what? They literally had his phone tapped for months. How can they look any closer? The hotel that they tapped, the hours and hours and hours of interviews. I don't understand all of his records. How can they look any closer? I think they looked at him pretty close.
But that's kind of their job.
Okay. They did their job, bruh.
It's not to make a decision.
Oh my God,
15 minutes into an investigation.
Hilliard says at this point, he and his team are looking down the road at the appeal process.
They didn't make a decision 15 minutes in. In my opinion, of course, they started noticing things that didn't add up when someone's story was changing or they were adding new things. But they didn't arrest her until they found Quentin. So they obviously didn't do that. Hello, Jen.
Hello. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm glad that you came up because I'm really curious what you think about this and the Stephan stuff. But
well,
yeah, so first, aren't there a lot of cases that are entirely circumstantial that
yes.
go to trial?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Hey, Kelsey.
Because so I think, you know, what's happened is because DNA is a thing and it's the testing and the amount that's necessary to collect and, you know, in order to compare from a person is so much smaller now than it used to be. I think a lot of people expect in especially murder cases that there's going to be some DNA left. And, you know, the thing is, that is true, you know, that it's very difficult to kill somebody other than obviously with a firearm, right, which you can be at a distance, and not have some type of exchange when there's violence. But there's stuff that goes into that. DNA doesn't stick around forever until the end of time especially under certain conditions. So yeah, but there are a lot of cases that are entirely circumstantial. Before DNA, there were tons of cases that were entirely circumstantial, and they were still people still got convicted. So, you know, also, I mean, there's a margin of error there, you know, with the entirely circumstantial case, but it depends on what the circumstantial evidence is.
Right. I just know that I've heard that a lot. Like, it's sometimes quite rare to have direct evidence, like to have somebody direct evidence of a murder. You know what I mean? And what is direct evidence exactly? Is that them on camera doing it? Someone is an eyewitness? I don't know. What qualifies it as direct evidence?
So, direct evidence would be like, let me think how to explain this. Seeing the snow fall at night. Okay. You saw the snow falling at night. Circumstantial evidence would be there was snow tracked into your home. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where you
Actually,
can,
that reminds me of Dietz. What did she say?
yeah,
Like,
that's Dietz's example. I was trying to, because Dietz puts it really well. And so I was trying to use Dietz's example.
yeah, she said, which you added to it, which makes it even more like I can understand it more. But she said, like, you don't see when you wake up and there's snow on the ground, you maybe didn't see it, but there's snow on the ground. So you can come to the conclusion that it snowed.
Right.
Basically.
Exactly. So,
Interesting.
that's what circumstantial evidence is. And, it's circumstantial evidence. A good way to think about it also is like putting together, a puzzle. All right. You might have the majority of the puzzle, but just because you don't have let's say it's 100-piece puzzle and you only have 85 pieces of a 100-piece puzzle. Are the 15 pieces really going to make a difference when
Right.
all the other pieces fit together? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Look what I found. Direct evidence is evidence that directly proves a key fact at issue. Examples: eyewitness testimony in a murder case who saw the actual killing.
Correct.
Security camera video showing a robbery suspect holding up the victim. The
Correct.
defendant's fingerprints on a knife. Oh.
Also, maybe a phone call from jail. Wade Wilson, we're all looking at you.
Where you admit that you did
Where
it?
you say you did it and then call everybody a liar. Yeah, like that.
Well, let me ask you, do you think they didn't look at Danny close enough? Because that's what her attorney just said. And I'm like,
Well, that's kind of his job, right?
Yeah.
He's got to throw in reasonable doubt. And the fact of the matter is they did look at Danny. And just because it's not like when Danny said, hey, if you want to, wire me up, wire the hotel room up, wire everything, right?
Yeah.
Just because he volunteered that doesn't automatically clear him as a suspect in the FBI's mind. That's not all that it was. You see what I'm saying? Because there are people that frequently insert themselves into investigations. They're the actual perpetrator. It happens all the time. So
Right.
It isn't like Danny volunteered and then the FBI is like, it's their first day on the job ever. And they're like, oh, well, he volunteered, so he must not be guilty. I mean, no, they kept watching him and,
Right.
the evidence bore it out that he was not a participant. That's it. That's all.
So, okay. Direct evidence, Foxy makes a point. Direct evidence would be like, is Stephan, the videos that show what he's doing to Maddie. Is that direct evidence?
Yes.
Okay. But indirect evidence would be
if Jennifer Soto saw those videos on his phone and told, yeah. Now, if she were a witness to the actual crime that was occurring when those videos were filmed, that would be direct evidence. But if she saw, she was scrolling through his phone and started how sometimes you can scroll and it'll start a preview of the video. But if somebody snatches that phone out, you'll pause. You aren't going to see the whole thing, right? So if she says, I think I saw something that looked incriminating or whatever on his phone, that would be indirect.
Okay. It's so confusing. And I know we've had this conversation
confusing
before, like a long time ago. I think you and me and Melissa, I remember talking about this a long time ago, but Jennifer says, since I didn't watch the trial, I don't know the judge. Will they throw the book at her or be lenient? I think, in my opinion, the judge will be like middle of the road. I really like this judge. I thought she tried to be fair. What do you think, Jen, in Leilani's trial?
Well, so what the judge is going to do is she's going to be fair. I thought she was a very fair judge. I think that if Leilani's attorney wants her to get anything less than her natural life in prison, talking about other people is not going to get it, bruh. You're going to need to present mitigating circumstances of why she should ever be given a shot. And just because, I want you guys to understand this, just because a person is given a shot at parole does not mean that they will get it. The Manson girls eventually, after, 7 years, I mean, they're like, too old in age to be really deemed a credible threat to society anymore, right? So just because somebody's given the opportunity does not necessarily mean that they will ever be granted parole. So I don't, if you hear that, if you hear, if they argue and the state recommends, natural life behind bars, and the defense is going to argue mitigating factors, and she splits it down the middle and says, she's eligible for parole after 50 years. Just because she's eligible, she can go before a parole board. Diane Downs has been eligible for parole forever, and she's had multiple parole hearings. Guess what? Never been granted.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Neat explains this in a good way. Direct
this is a good
evidence
one.
shows a crime occurring. Indirect evidence points to a crime occurring.
There you go. Exactly. It's a very good way to put it.
No, she is no different than Megan Boswell sprinkled donut. I can't wait to see Megan go to trial.
Same.
Okay, there's like just a few seconds left. I'm going to play it, and then I just want to ask you a question or two about Stephan. And then
okay, but before you push play, I just want everybody to acknowledge the interviewer here. Now, there is clearly a back to that chair, yet this girl does not need it at all. She's not even leaned up against the back of that chair. That is some incredible posture. Good for you, ma'am. It's going to save you in the long run when you get older, I'm telling you.
That's funny. You noticed.
I notice everything.
She doesn't need it. So is this his office, I guess?
It looks like it, yes.
Okay. All right.
It's very neat, I have to say.
Yeah, it is.
I appreciate the organization skills.
I mean, he did a decent job. I just can't help it. I don't like him very much because I don't like Leilani. It's hard to, you're here you're doing your job, advocating for your client. I understand that. But
also, I'm very distracted by his sock because I can't tell if there's a line that goes up the sock or if I'm seeing that line because he's got it crossed over his leg. If it is a line up the sock, I think a solid sock would have been better.
Yeah,
with this ensemble, I think the stripe is a little too much, but that's just me. I wouldn't have done that. I would have
see the stripe too.
Right. Like you're making a statement with your pants, and that's the only statement you need. I mean, unless you're gonna wear like Mr. J with Halloween, if you're gonna wear some kind of,
yeah,
whatever.
Well, thank you. The juror spoke out. We can watch that too.
Ooh.
Okay, let me play the end of this and then we'll hear what the juror said. Hey, Melissa Jade. Okay, you noticed the most obscure things, Jen Lou. I love it.
That'd be the ADD in me.
Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
They'll ask that an appellate lawyer be appointed to oversee the appeal, including a motion for a new trial.
It's always good to have a fresh set of eyes to do that. They'll argue the motion for new trial, and if it's granted, then it's granted at the trial court level, then she'd get a retrial. If it's denied at the trial court level, then it goes to the Georgia Supreme Court, and the Georgia Supreme Court will hear. But there are certain issues and certain things you have to preserve at the motion for new trial level. And so that's why I always have another lawyer do it who specializes in, appellate issues.
Okay. Yes, Claus, I'm so excited to see this. I've been waiting for the jury to speak out. We just didn't have reasonable doubt, juror, and Leilani's trial speaks out.
I mean, is that not what it's all about? And I want people, this is something that I would like, most of you guys know this, but just to anybody who's listening, it's reasonable doubt, not shadow of a doubt, not beyond all doubt, reasonable doubt.
Yeah. I say it wrong all the time. I know I do, but yes.
Well, I mean, but I think when you're talking about the definitions, what reasonable doubt is it reasonable that this person didn't do this crime? Did the questions that the defense raised reasonably poke so much holes in their own theory that it's reasonable to doubt the veracity of their claims? Is it reasonable to doubt that this person committed this crime on this date against this person? It's reasonable, not beyond all measure of doubt, So
Yeah.
that's all.
Yeah,
I
no,
wanted to
that's a
say.
good point. Okay, ready? Oh, I'm excited to see this.
Yes, Melissa, reasonable
I
doubt
think it is a game changer.
is
to be able to
subjective.
feel like you're glowing without having to put on
J-Lo.
a ton of makeup.
Oh
Yes, Leanne,
God,
thanks for
shut up,
joining us for
J-Lo.
E! News at 6. I'm Haley Boland. Don Baker is on assignment.
Not
and
just shut up Tisha we got to shut up J-Lo today.
Mhm.
Okay.
I mean, I've watched like all the TikToks making fun of her tossing her hair. Reminds me of when I was Jenny on the block. Get out of here.
Uh-huh. With the orange drink and stuff. I've seen
Goodbye.
the night off. Tonight, we begin with a WTOC exclusive. One of the jurors in the Leilani Simon murder trial speaking exclusively to WTOC about how the jury came to a guilty verdict. Simon is now convicted of murdering her toddler, Quentin Simon, more than 2 years ago. It all boiled down to a 6-hour-long jury deliberation to determine her fate. WTOC's Flynn Snyder spoke one-on-one with that foreperson. He joins us now in studio. Flynn, walk us through what the juror said about reaching that unanimous decision.
Well, Haley, that's right. Valerie Kite found herself in a crucial role during this trial that gripped our area. She was the foreperson of the jury that
surprised it's
convicted
taken
Simon.
this long
And
to hear
despite
from
feeling
her.
odds early on in deliberations, she says everyone was determined to deliberate for as long as it took.
Is he wearing house shoes? Can you go back, Allie? I know that's ridiculous. But it looks like he's wearing slippers, does it not?
I
To
think he's
deliberate
wearing
for as
loafers
long as
that,
it
yes, kind of look like house shoes, but I think they're just loafers.
They're a little swishy for me. I'm sorry. They're fluffy looking. Thank you, Deadeye Danny. Okay, it's not just me. Sometimes I wonder.
Okay. Here we go.
We were
Look like
an
comfy
8-4 split in the beginning on some of the charges.
An inside
What?
look at jury deliberation.
Yeah.
Wow. They were
Yeah.
8-4 split in the beginning?
Yeah. So, okay, this is what usually what happens when a jury deliberates is they go back to the room, right? The deliberation room, and they take an initial poll of how the jurors are feeling. And then based on that poll, that's when they go ahead and examine the evidence respective to those specific charges. That's usually what happens.
Wow. Okay. But
Mhm.
are you surprised by the 8-4 split at first, or?
No, I
Wow.
think that there will always be people who make a determination, and once they've made that determination, they stick with it. Then there will be those people like me who take a wait and see approach and want a moment. They take a wait and see until there's something specific usually about a piece of evidence that they want to look into, that they have questions about. And once they get an opportunity to ask the questions and have the answer potentially to the questions, then they feel more confident because this is a serious charge.
Yeah. Yeah. On some of the charges, I'm curious what they were. Probably the most serious ones. Honestly.
Probably the most serious ones. I don't think that it was about the lying to cops. Those charges, the 15 of those. I'm pretty sure those were very clearly proven.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of debate there.
Yeah, you're right. Oh my gosh, wild. Okay.
Deliberations from the Leilani Simon murder trial. The jury foreperson, Valerie Kite, says confusion about the 3 murder charges Simon faced was among the most difficult sticking points.
We read through the judge's instructions several times. We looked at the definitions several times. And it did take several rounds of voting and discussion before we were all unanimous.
Kite says it was the security data from Simon's house, GPS info from the mobile home park where Simon is convicted of dumping Quentin's body, and surveillance footage from a nearby gas station that helped sway jurors.
Wow. Okay, wait. I'm so surprised that security, because all it showed was that like the door wasn't open, when she claimed it wasn't direct evidence either. Remember from the brother's phone, like he had the security
Yes.
system on the house. I am so
Mhm.
surprised that that's part of what swayed.
I actually am encouraged that is what swayed them, right? Because if you have reasonable, I'm just encouraged by that. I feel like it proves that Leilani did lie beyond reasonable doubt, that that door did not open, and that there was no other possible alternative for how Quentin got where he wound up.
Yeah, because they have the gas station, they said, which
Mhm.
shows that she wasn't there, but shows her go by that
Mhm.
one gas station, and then the GPS from her phone, and then the data from the house, which, I mean, it's really good that that's where we're at now with technology, that we can
Mhm.
track people like that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
What did yourself view as a key moment during testimony and evidence, and what did others view as a key moment?
It wasn't so much on the witness testimonies as much as it was us in the deliberation room, again, pulling out the photos, pulling out the data. This
Wasn't the
verdict
witness
was
testimony.
not solely
That's
based on the
interesting to me.
emotional.
Yeah.
It's good though, I
that they
think.
Yeah, because it's more concrete. Like, you can trust
Right.
technology more than people.
And witness testimony is super subjective, and it's really based on how well they do under direct examination,
Testimonies
and if they can have anything taken away under cross. But actual physical evidence is,
Yeah.
that it proves that they weren't swayed by any of the salacious stuff. For example, the text messages, and then getting Red Craig up there on the stand. They were not, they
Or
were looking at the evidence. It wasn't an emotional verdict. It was an evidence-based verdict. And I like that.
or the woman who did the seance and spoke to Quentin and all that crazy stuff. Like,
Right.
that didn't sway them either. Which
Exactly.
her testimony about all the things Leilani said about Quentin, it did line up with what other people said that she seemed to feel about him. But yeah,
Right.
the lady it was not, I'm really surprised they even put her up on the stand. I don't think she was helpful to them at all, but I'm glad she didn't sway them. Oh God, I keep doing that. Sway them positively or negatively.
Yeah.
That
Oh my gosh, what is wrong with me?
we thought very clearly and thoughtfully about the verdict we were rendering.
Kite also responding to recent comments from Leilani Simon's defense lawyer, Martin Hilliard, who said the verdict did not come back as he expected.
We just didn't have reasonable doubt to say that she was not guilty. We all agreed that to place a child in a dumpster means you wish for that child to be disposed of and not found. And therefore, that is malice intent.
The state was not required to prove motive, but a reasonable person couldn't help but think, why? How could a mother do this to her own child, a toddler? Do you have a better understanding in your mind about why and what led Leilani Simon to do this?
Most of us in that room did not think of her as a monster. She was in a very delicate state of mind. And then adding drugs and alcohol to the mix is volatile. We believe that she acted in the only way she knew how, and then could not come to the fact that she actually killed her child.
What?
What kind of expect?
Wow.
I think what they mean by this is that Leilani didn't start out a monster. What she did was monstrous, and therefore she became a monster, but she wasn't always. I think that's what they're trying. I think that's what
I take it as they had sympathy for her because of her addiction and stuff and her
Yes.
history. And Yeah, that oh my gosh, though, it's just hard to hear that. I guess like it's different for us, people that have been watching and following this, since the beginning, and have been watching the interviews and watching all the YouTube stuff that happened outside the house, and
Exactly.
different for us. And then they just see what they're presented at court.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. But even still, even if even if we disagree or with what with what the jurors said about whether she's a monster or not,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the most important thing is, again, they didn't render a verdict based on emotion.
Yeah,
They
no,
rendered
you're
a
right.
verdict based on the evidence, and I appreciate that.
I do
I
too.
think she is a monster, Lisa Lee. I want to be very clear. I, Jen Lou, think that Leilani is an absolute monster. I think that I was trying to explain my perception of what the
She
jurors
did.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. And I think you're right. This is best case scenario. They did a good job. They looked at the evidence. They looked at the facts. They weren't doing, they weren't letting emotions get in the way. But for me, like seeing even just the way she treated them differently, and that she had this disdain for Quentin she didn't have for the other kids. And
she was open about it too. Like she said it to people.
That to me makes her seem like a monster. Plus, seeing the interviews, all the things she was saying on YouTube, even like when she was being told, don't go down for a man, don't, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like, I think she's a monster, but I can appreciate the jurors' perspective, and they still did their job, right?
Exactly.
So everybody's free to their opinions. And that's the thing. I don't want to I don't care. I'm not going to get offended that we disagree. I highly disagree with her. I still appreciate that she did her job. And I think that we have to be open to different opinions, because that's that's how we learn. I can't stand that, like, we all have to think the same way. I even love when you or, Melissa, you guys, the mods, friends in the chat, you guys challenge me. I like that, because I want my theories and my beliefs to be sound and be able to stand to challenges, or they're obviously not good ones. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
yes.
I appreciate that. But
and Tess, I don't think we came. Okay. So here's the thing. I don't think that verdict was going to stay, right? I think that's just the initial poll that they did with each other at before they actually started deliberating. And it sounds to me, and this is, something to consider, is that the charges and what was required, what they had to find in order to find her guilty of the charges, the instructions in that area were difficult, and they to understand, and they usually are. And so I think that that's probably why there was 8-4, is because of the 4 jurors that interpreted the instructions differently than the other 8. So, and I think once they went over it and asked, I think they figured out, okay, this is what these instructions mean.
Yeah. Tell the Truth says, people that do drugs and alcohol know these things change them. They feel and see and know the changes and don't get help. There's no room to allow for any excuse. These aren't children. I agree with you. I don't think drugs or alcohol are an excuse. However, I do disagree a little bit with them. They feel and see and know the changes and don't get help. When you're in active addiction, you actually don't feel and see it until things start, until like it starts causing trouble in your personal life and your physical life. There are times where you are oblivious to what you're doing to yourself and your loved ones. I remember when I was in active addiction, I truly did not even understand or take into account or even think or dream of how I was hurting my family, my loved ones. I thought, I'm not like physically hurting them. I'm not stealing from them. No, it was not being there at times, not being myself, not reliable. There are so many ways that you are hurting people and stuff that you don't really comprehend at the time.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And I also think with what the juror said, it's very difficult. First of all, it's incomprehensible to us that a parent would ever do something intentionally to harm their child, let alone take their child's life. To us, it's incomprehensible. And so there's our brain constantly is trying to understand the why. That's part of the human existence, is just understanding why people do the things that they do, right? That's one of the things. And so I think that it's so incomprehensible that because she was on drugs and alcohol, or, you know, drugs and or drugs, but drugs for other people, drugs and or alcohol, whatever, people, I think, try to say that must have played a role, that because it's so incomprehensible for us that
Right.
anybody would ever do that. And I don't think it's their way. I don't think they're blaming it, but it feels like it's a way for them to sort of understand.
Yeah, I agree with you, because it is incomprehensible. It's like just like with Chris Watts and him, the way he disposed of those babies, you sit there and you're like, how could you do that? Like,
yes.
Well, we don't have a mind like him. We will never understand that. It is completely incomprehensible. It's unbelievable that someone could do that. But if you knew that he was under the influence of a substance or something, it would still be relevant to the conversation, because you'd be trying to figure out what the hell was going on here that made him where he was able to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell the truth says I've been in active addiction, and for me, I knew because of the lies I told myself, the hiding, etc. No, you don't necessarily think you're hurting others, but you certainly know you're harming yourself. Yeah, I agree with you. And, you know, I can understand it's a little different for everybody too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Lovely lyrics.
Oh.
I lost my son to addiction, and the pain is like being ripped to pieces. You can't get through to them. You can't make them understand how much you love them. It's so true. You cannot. You can't force someone to get help. You can't force someone to see what they're doing, how they're hurting themselves, how they're hurting their family. It's just until they see it, if they ever see it, that's when they will. And it's so hard to be a family
It's hard
member.
to wait.
I remember, you know, I've been in active addiction and the loved one of someone in active addiction that I really love so much. And it's really hard. I almost think it's harder being the family member, because you're sober and you're witnessing it, and there's nothing you can do. When you're the addict, you're in the addiction.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's hard watching somebody that you love destroy themselves and do it because they don't think that they're, I don't know. It's just hard. I'm sorry that you lost your son.
Me too.
I'm sorry to anybody that's lost anybody to addiction. I'm sorry to anybody that's lost anybody, period. Hard.
Yeah, same. And for anybody who just has a loved one in addiction now, because I know you just want to get through to them so much, and you're fighting like this losing battle, and they don't see how they're affecting themselves, their kids, you know, all of that. And I don't know. I recommend like support groups for addicts, that like Al-Anon or Nar-Anon. These are groups for people whose loved ones are in addiction. So it's kind of like a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. However, it's not for people on drugs. It's just for people who have a loved one. It's like a support group to give you tools and help you get through it, because it's really hard. But
yeah.
Nurse Kristen, I have, Alex, she says, ever considered telling your story and your why that caused you to seek recovery? I have several videos on it. I can't even remember what all I put in them, because they're like 4 years old. They're on my channel. But I'll tell you, the short version of it was I got pregnant with Bentley. And I was like, I am not using pregnant. And that was just my bottom line. And I don't know that I would have ever stayed in recovery. I think like part of me wonders, I probably would have went back to it, but I had a very hard delivery 2 months early. I almost lost my life. Bentley was pretty healthy even then, but it was so traumatic. And I just realized, I think, how precious life was. And I knew I would never go back after that. And yeah, so.
Yeah.
Bendy, thank you for coming up. So
Oh, you're
Leilani's
welcome, babe.
sentencing is the 21st at 10:30. Are you going to stream it?
Absolutely, I will stream it.
Okay.
If you guys
'Cause
would like for me to, I would be more than happy to.
I would love for you
Absolutely.
to. So what day is that? Sunday's the 17th.
It's payday, whatever it is,
Thursday.
middle of the week, I think.
Thursday at 10:30.
Thursday. Okay.
Yeah, I would love for you to stream it because I cannot wait. I'm really curious what she's going to get. Like you said, you got to keep in mind, even if she has the chance at parole one day, it doesn't mean she's going to get out.
Right.
But yeah, so I can't wait. And anything else you have planned like this weekend that you want to talk about before we go that you're going to do?
I've been watching the case in Georgia Court TV calls it the cult mom. She stabbed her baby. And I've been watching that. And I want to do a recap of the first 4 days. And then I'd like to start streaming the trial during the day starting Monday, because I found it to be as sad. It's a very sad case. But it's interesting to me because it's a not guilty by reason of insanity. And I've never seen one of those trials in Georgia.
I'm really looking forward to it because you've piqued my interest talking to you privately. Even the not guilty by reason of insanity, the only one I've followed closely was Letitia's. So I'm curious for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also curious just because the situation is kind of odd and
it
seems intriguing. So I'm looking forward to, so are you doing that tonight or what? I kind of zoned out while you were explaining, reading the chat too, when you were saying that you were going to
leaving.
I'm sorry, Jen. I love you. But
how you going to ask me a question and then zone out? What's wrong with you?
I didn't zone out for all of it, but I kind of
the important part.
So I kind of knew the answer a little bit. I really just wanted the chat to know that you were going to do it. And then I was reading like all these sad, really people.
I'm just teasing, babe. I'm thinking depending on what our plans are for this weekend to do something, I'll just schedule around that.
Okay. Like with the calls.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to, as soon as we get off here, I'm going to take a shower and work on that. And so I'll let you know, like within a couple of hours, how that's going. And then
perfect. Now remember, you have you have 48, 49, and 50 from the first folder. Okay. And then you got to open up the second folder.
Okay. Yeah. And hold on. Let me just show you really quick my full screen.
Show me. I can't wait.
I still have them on the. Look, they're down here on the full. Oh, shoot. Is it working?
Allie.
Like if you look down. Oh, wait, let me get that comment off. See? 2 folders down here at the bottom still open. So
I love you.
I am not removing those damn things until I get the video done because I will never be able to find them again to pull them back up.
I want to answer under your scars real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I think the reason that postpartum depression isn't being mentioned with Chloe is because it's the depression and it's not the postpartum psychosis where you're completely detached from reality. And one of the necessary requirements to talk about or to be qualified for not guilty by reason of insanity is that what your defect, your mental health issue was so great that you could not appreciate the difference between right and wrong, and therefore could not comport your behavior correctly. So I'm thinking that depression is one that is more indicative of this is just what I'm thinking. I don't know for sure, but people typically with depression, it's more of a self-harm than a harm others. But I mean, that doesn't mean all the people, but I'm thinking that there must be something with this, the laws or the rules for criminal procedure in Georgia that maybe negate postpartum depression. I'm not sure.
And then Lindsay Clancy, Pointer Lover. So I got an article I'm going to drop in the chat. Her husband did an interview last month with People magazine. He said there's, they're waiting on the trial date. It's not been scheduled. And he said in there, I know it sounds crazy to people, but she misses her kids. Like he said, I wasn't married to a monster. I was married to someone who got very sick. So if you want to read the whole thing, I just dropped it in the chat. Check it out. And then
perfect.
Yeah. Joneson says, Jin Lu, am I crazy for feeling like it's a little of both mental and selfishness?
Well, a good thumbnail for measuring whether you're crazy or not is the fact that you're asking if you're crazy. Truly, crazy people don't know that they're crazy, and so they don't even ask about it. It's not a question in their mind. But yes, you're not, because I think that, see, the law is very black and white, and human beings, obviously, we are not all things all the time. We ebb and flow and we change and all the things. So I think that when it comes to stuff like this, I don't think that there's like an absolute. I think that there are many layers to it and many reasons and underlying factors. Yes, I agree.
Like Jensen always says, she's gray. She usually sees both sides. Well, it's funny that you even asked that, Jensen. Am I crazy for thinking it's a little of both? Because you oftentimes see situations and see both sides of it. And that's where the whole, I guess, because she always says like I'm gray, like the gray gang or whatever.
It's hard. Human beings are multifaceted, and so it's sort of like taking a screenshot of a singular moment in time, one conversation. Even though you may have had 50 conversations that day, one conversation and it's not even the entire conversation, just a clip of a conversation that a person had. It's just a snapshot into one specific moment in time, but that's not really how life is. There's all kinds of, things that are happening and, going on at once, it's difficult.
Yeah, it really is. All right. Well, I'm so glad you came up because I love to get your perspective and I love to get the chat's perspective to you guys. So thank you for joining the conversation. And Jen, thank you for coming up. Yeah, because not only have you been following Stephan's with me, but also Leilani. Oh, with Stephan, Let me ask you before we go, because that's what this live started about. I'm going to change the title that, Leilani, we heard from the juror and her attorney too. But what do you think of this letter? Do you consider that a confession? And I can pull it back up really quick, but what do you think of that? And
well, let me see it first, please. Is this that I never dreamed this would happen or something? Is it that letter?
Okay. So a new channel requested the jail files. Now this letter was in one of the evidence folder, in the dump that we got, but nobody knew what it was from. Now we know they found this letter in his room, and he said his attorney, they're not allowed to have yellow paper. His attorney gave it to him. It said for Maddie. There's also paper of that in the jail file. This channel requested and got his jail records. And so they have the write-up of when the letter was found and all of that. But it said to Maddie. And then it says this, particularly, it talks about missing her and how much he loved her. And then particularly the last part, people are calling his confession. He says, I loved you so much, I would have died for you. With no end to my tears, I will always miss you. As I held you in my arms, my heart died with you. Rest in peace, sweetheart. I will always miss you. So what do you think about that?
I mean, it's, yeah. how can your heart die? When did you hold her in your arms? And when you use the phrase "my heart died with you," that is saying the person that you're talking about is also dead. So how were you able to hold her in your arms when she was no longer alive, and therefore causing you to your heart to die? So it's obviously not I did it and here's how straight confession, but it is a leak, if you will.
Like Letitia leaks.
Yes.
To me, I'm with you. I think as I held you in my arms, my heart died with you. It just makes me question, like, what the hell happened? What happened? What happened? How I loved you so much, I would have died for you. It's like almost as if he like didn't plan it. I don't know. It leaves me like,
or he didn't stop it. He saw that it was happening and he didn't do anything to stop it. In my opinion, the whole thing is self-serving. Do not get me wrong. If he wrote it, like you're saying, he wrote it in while he was in jail, prior to being charged with her murder or after being charged?
After. They found it after. So he was charged, I think it was June 18th. We just looked at the dates.
Yes. You're right.
They found it the end of July.
I mean, to me, it's a very, it is, I think, a confession adjacent. It's a leak, right? But I also think that all the things that he's written in here are self-serving. He's a groomer, you guys. And in order for you to be able to groom, because you've got to be very manipulative. And so, whenever somebody is cognizant that they're being monitored because they're warehoused in the jail, I'm always suspicious of what they are. It's not so much what it's what he wrote, but what is the underlying theme? And he has done this a few times in phone calls and stuff and emails that have come out as well. Like there's a self-serving leak that seems to hint, without coming out and blaming somebody else or saying somebody else was there other than Maddie and himself, some mysterious third party. It feels very self-serving to me, I think.
Well, look, this is the report from when it was found. They said that, they saw a yellow paper, found it unusual because they didn't think they were allowed to have it. So I requested Stearns to hand over the papers, which he did. I asked him how he obtained the yellow paper, which he stated his attorney did it. I saw one of the papers turned out to be a handwritten poem labeled "For Maddie." I showed the note to the corporal. Then the supervisor says, after reviewing the note, mental health services agreed with my assessment and needed to be given to police. I handed it over to police. He was supposed to stay in his cell afterwards, but there were a few lines that concerned me. That's a quote from this report. I noticed a few lines that concerned me. So now that's why it was part of that evidence dump.
Right.
And we saw it in that, but it's nice to see the backstory of it. And
absolutely. And that's the thing, so of course it was given to mental health for their, for them to review, because they're speaking to Stephan, right? And they were, so they're looking for, because there's, death mentioned, is it a potential, self-harm situation? And they got to clear it first, so yeah.
Very interesting.
Very.
But anyway, so yeah, freaking cord, man. I thought this was the second one. I have two sitting here now, but my computer keeps trying to die on me. So I'm going to let you go, but okay. I'll work on the video. I'll work on our video with the calls and I'll let you know. And if we don't do that, are you going to do your live tonight?
I'm going to try to, yes. I want to make sure that if I'm going to recap 4 days worth of testimony that I'm recapping it accurately, and B, I don't want to leave anything out,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So
Hey, I
it's-
appreciate that. There are so many
Thank
people
you.
that don't put as much effort into true crime, and whatever. People can do it how they do it. I'm just saying,
Right.
I appreciate somebody who really tries to know what they're talking about. And
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate that about you too, Allie. You do your research, you know?
thank
I'm
you.
proud of you.
Well, I like, for me, it's like the research is just something I would do anyways. Like, for instance, with this situation, like, I was watching and trying to gather all the information about this since the night before last, just like in my free time out of curiosity. I see, something, I'm interested in this case. So I do the research just because I'm interested in it and I want to know more. Like, my mind is just, like yours and like a lot of you guys in the chat. That's why we're here. We need to know more.
Right.
So I find it fun to do. So yeah, but thank you, Bendy. And all right, well, I'll call you in a little bit and let
All
you
right,
know how
babe.
it's going. And then you guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for everything. I appreciate you guys. And yeah,
Thanks for
see you
having me.
soon. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you, everyone. Oh, 307. I see Pointer Lovers comment. Hold on. Don't want to miss that.
Yes.
Sorry, you guys. I was trying, when I'm looking at other things, that I don't see everything. 307, Mrs. Troy, thank you for rejoining. I think you're rejoining. I appreciate that so much. And then, all right, you guys, I will check out all the channels we dropped, and the link is in the description for the video where the Stearns jail records came from. And I'll either see you later here over at Jen's, Melissa's, somewhere around here. And yeah, have a good day. Bye.
Bye.
Ooh, Foxy, you're doing a part 2, maybe later or
Ooh.
tomorrow. Or meet me over at Foxy's, which I
Yeah.
mentioned at the beginning. She does true tarot, but it's not true crime tarot. And if you're interested in her thoughts on that, she did do like a videos with me on my second channel. So check that out too. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Have a good day.
Bye.